everybody, in this tutorial I just wanted to show you one of the ways that you can put your line art onto your paper for drawing. So all I do is I just print out my line art, and then what I do is I'll turn it over like so. I'm going to pin mine to the board there. Then all I do is I just get a normal graphite pencil. This is a 6B. I try and get more of a softer one for this. You can use pastels for this, but I find, especially if you've got a darker subject, the graphite works well, and you can always lift a little bit off of your paper as well if you feel you've gone too dark. So all I do, I'm just going to be careful not to go into my paper, is I just take that graphite pencil and I just go over. So this is on the back, I've turned it over. I just go over just those lines. You don't need to cover the whole sheet if there's nothing there that you're going to be tracing. Just go over the sections that there's some sort of line there. But you can get the actual graphite sheets of paper that you can just slide in between your line art and your actual paper. But I find that it's just as easy and just as economical just to get a pencil, which you can pick up for next to nothing. Just make sure that you've got a decent amount down. Don't have to go crazy, like so. Now all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn that over, and I'm just going to position that on to my paper where I want it to be. Very good. I'm just going to secure that onto my board. So just a normal biro pen, and then all I do, usually I pick a different colour to whatever my line art is. So if you've printed this out and it's in black, then maybe go over it with a red or a blue, and it just helps you see where you've actually drawn already. So now you don't want to go too hard with your pressure here, because you don't want to indent the paper. But what you can do then is just lift it up, have a little look, and you can see that the line has transferred onto the paper. Just go round it all. And of course, with the line art, you can put in as much or as little detail as you want to use. Sometimes less is more. I find that if you put in too much detail, it can get really confusing. That's why I like to keep my line art as basic as possible. And then that way you can just fill in the parts when you're actually coming to laying down your pastels, as opposed to worrying about every little line. So just take your time with this part. Again, you can always just check and just make sure that it's coming down all right, which looks pretty good. And that's why it's good using that different colour, because it stands out really well as to where you've been. Sometimes you'll lift up your paper and take it off, and then you'll realise that you've completely missed a section. Again, just follow those lines, not too hard a pressure. Some people believe that tracing your image like this is cheating, and I am one of the first to say that I think that's absolute rubbish. But the sole reason is some of the masters have been using some tool in one way, shape or another to get their image down on their paper or their canvas before they've started drawing. And you'll see that once we've done this line art, nobody can turn around and tell you that that's a piece of art. It's your drawing, it's your laying down of the pastels and the tones and all of that sort of thing that makes your artwork. So if this helps you and it speeds up the process and it gets things more accurate for you, then yeah, by all means, I do it all the time. You can use the grid method, you can freehand, but I find, especially with pastel paper, with the Clairefontaine Pastelmat, the last thing you want to be doing is doing a freehand sketch on there and then having to rub it out. But of course, you could freehand it on a piece of A4 like this, printer paper, and then do it. So whatever you're comfortable with and what makes you happy, that's what you do. I'll just have a quick check before I remove it completely. I think I've got everything I need, yes. So I just remove that, and there you have your line art down on your actual paper. Now what you can do as well is if you feel that that's too dark or you've pressed a little bit too hard, you can just get a kneadable eraser. You can get those at any office supply store, an art store, and then you can just dab it. And you can see just how that's lifted some of that graphite off. So if you feel you've gone a little bit too dark, then just dab that on there and that'll just lift some of that pigment, especially on the sections where it's a little bit lighter if you've got a white sort of area. But if you've got a darker area and a darker background, then that's not really an issue. So there you go. That just shows you how easy it is to get an accurate line art down onto your paper so you can start drawing.